Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a little reading wrap up, so what I read in January and February. Amazing reading months. Great start to the year. I'm honestly really excited. I was worried I was going to fall into a slump soon, so luckily not. I had some highly anticipated reads that did live up to the hype, so that's always exciting. Yeah, let's just get into it. Also, please, I hope the hair is giving. I'm so annoyed. I left it in braids for like 2 days. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it out. It's gonna be so nice and wavy. No, it's still soaking wet. So that's really annoying. I'm hoping it's giving mermaid and not drowned rat. So, okay. First book I read in January was The Worst Best Man. This is by Lucy Score. I'm a longtime fan of hers. I read most of her books and I enjoyed this. If you like the Twisted series, I think you'd really like this. It's definitely like billionaire romance, kind of has that unrealistic like aspect of like crime and drama, but I enjoy that and I thought it was fun. I honestly had no idea that was going to be in this. I kind of went in not really reading the back of it. So they meet at a wedding and she hates him immediately and he's obsessed with her. So yeah, it's him like trying to woo her, which I always enjoy. This, I enjoyed reading it. It wasn't like my favorite of hers by any means, and I honestly might like some of the other Twisted books more. So this is like a 3.5 star, but still think it's a fun, easy read. Next, I read my first Catherine Center book, The Bodyguard. I fear I bought this like over a year ago and it's just been sitting on my TBR shelf. I don't know why I like haven't gravitated towards it, but I finally picked it up. And I should have picked this up sooner. I really enjoyed this a lot. It's super cute. It's definitely not like very smutty like Lucy Score and Anna Huang. This is definitely like closed door romance, no smut. More like rom-com vibes really. She literally has a book called The Rom-Commers. It feels like you're watching like a romance movie on the screen. So I really enjoyed that. It's definitely like slow burn. She's a bodyguard undercover staying with him at his family's house and he's like a very famous actor. So it's really fun. I really enjoyed this and I give this 4 stars. Next, I read Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. This is the holiday novella from the Caraval series, which I read in December and I loved. Definitely perfect for the holidays. I wanted to read this before the end of the year, but a little too late. But it's just like the cutest. Like I love all of the illustrations in it. And like you get to see like what the characters look like. Like look, it's the sisters. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it a lot. It's basically like a novella of Scarlett and kind of her story. So it was fun. It was very quick, easy read. I give it 4 stars just because I love the world so much, but you definitely don't need to read it, but if you really enjoy the world and want another chance with the characters, I think it's a really fun read. Okay, next I read my first nonfiction of the year, maybe my last, we'll see. I read Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, and I loved it. I gave this 5 stars. It's a memoir, so it's kind of weird to rate them, but I loved it so much. Like, no notes. I mean, what notes would I have? It's a book about her life, but I just enjoyed it so thoroughly. I love the underlying message about like female friendships and how fulfilling they are as a form of love. And it was just so sweet. I was like sobbing by the end of it. I loved also just like the portrayal of how you like grow through like your teen years to your 20s to your 30s. I appreciate that. It's good to hear. And like it's also like a good reminder that like how you feel at one point isn't how you're gonna feel forever. So like I just loved the way that her friendships grew and changed and how she would go through like some rough patches, but she always like, you know, they're always gonna be there for you no matter what. So yeah, I really enjoyed this and I think everyone should read this, so highly recommend. Next we have my most anticipated read of the year, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, the 3rd in the Fourth Wing series. Oh, I love this world so much. I fear that even if it wasn't very good, which I thought it was pretty good, I would have still loved it just because it's another book in this world and I love all of the characters in here so much. I'm not even here for the romance anymore. Like that was the least interesting part of the book to me personally, was the romance thread, but I just love the way she writes the battle scenes. They're so impressive. the way that she's built everything up, the storyline, the dragons. Oh my god, I thought the dragons were like I always like the dragons, but they were my favorite part of this book. Like, I thought the dialogue was so fun with them, and then Adarna's storyline was so good. Yeah, this is really fun. I mean, there's not much you can say about the third book without giving away spoilers, but I think you should read this series. This is your sign to read the series. I gave this 5 stars. I do have notes, however, I don't think they're important enough for it not to still be a 5-star read. So, 5 stars, read this series, please. Next, I started a new fantasy series because that just, oh my god, can you hear my fucking neighbors? I swear to god, it's like they're moving in every day. Are you moving around the furniture? Like, please, stay still. Anyway, I started a new fantasy series after that. I was really in a fantasy mood, and I just like wanted to continue on with the world. Obviously, it's gonna be like 3 years until we have the next book. So this is what kept me from getting into a slump, which I'm very grateful for. And that is A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. This is really good. I got this for Christmas from Tirzah. It's a solid fantasy series. The first book has like early Throne of Glass vibes, like Selena on her own as an assassin, kind of dealing with moral dilemmas of being an assassin for a king that she doesn't believe in. So it's that. The main character deals with like some alcoholism as well, and she's sent out to kill this guy called the Shadow, who is basically helping the rebels. And so it's the two of them begrudgingly working together, and a little romance forms. So yeah, I read the first, the second, and the third book this month. So that's Broken Blade, A Shadow Crown, and Vicious Game. So I read all 3 of those. I'd say like it's a solid like 4-star series. I need to pick up the 4th book, but I read these all so quickly. I'm like, I'm gonna give some time in between just so it doesn't get to like start to feel too repetitive. Because I feel like fantasy books, they come out so far apart that you like forget what's happening usually. But if you're like reading them back to back, sometimes it's like, okay, I get it. So yeah, gave a break on the 4th, but I really enjoyed this. And yeah, if you're in a fantasy slump, this helped me stay out of it. So it's very like quick paced, and it's a fun world. I really enjoy the world building. So yeah, that is everything I read in January. So moving on to February. First thing I read was The Striker by Anna Huang. This was also highly anticipated. I got this for Christmas, and I've been wanting to read it at the perfect time. So this was the first book I read in February. She's a big boy. She writes some big books, and I loved it because I needed every page of this. Sometimes with like a big romance book, you can get to the last 100 pages and you're like, what if I just didn't read these? Like, is anything important happening? But for this, I was like, I don't know. There's something about it. Maybe it's the fact that she's a ballerina instructor and he's a soccer player, and or in London, so football player. And she's like training him, and it's her brother's rival. I just loved the story so much. I loved their characters. I loved all the like different storylines with the two of them. So I just like really enjoyed this. I thought this was so fun. And it's good smut, as she always writes. Just a fun romance. I give this 4 stars. Next, I wanted to switch genres a little bit. So I picked up The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. A little thriller. I love Lucy Foley. I, once again, did not read the back of this, so I wasn't sure what to expect. But it's like kind of like, it's almost White Lotus-esque. And I feel like she always has something to say about like class and money in her books, but this definitely heavily emphasized that. It's a wellness retreat is going up and kind of tearing down some of the land of this like old town, and there's all of this like kind of lore with the locals with these birds that live in the woods, and there's kind of like an eerie, creepy vibe of it. And so I really enjoyed that, as all of her books are multiple POV. So it's like the chapters go so quickly. Even if you don't like a certain POV, it's like over so quickly and you're with a new character, so you don't get bored often. But I enjoyed all of the POVs. There's also a little bit of a dual timeline because you get to read the diary of one of the characters from like 15 years ago, which I enjoyed so much. I just love the way she does a thriller. So this I very much enjoyed, and I give it 4 stars. Next, I read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, another highly anticipated release, and I know this is controversial, but I loved it. I've seen so many people complain about it. One, that it's too smutty, and then on the other hand, that it's not smutty enough for like a kinky BDSM type thing. I disagree with both of them because I feel like Ali Hazelwood, if she were to write like a super kinky book, like for college students would be a little odd. Like they're really young, honestly. And I'd say this is like more smut than she normally puts in her books, but not that much, you know? And so I wasn't expecting her to like break away and do like a Katie Robert or like kind of like praise-esque book. So I thought this was like true to her like writing, but at the same time like explored a new kind of relationship. As for like people like don't like the characters and they say there's no plot, I don't know, like my favorite kind of book, I don't know if you could tell it, is like just two characters who you enjoy and reading about their like, you know, what's going on up there in their lives. And she's like an Olympic hopeful for diving and he's an Olympian for swimming. And I just thought it was so interesting hearing about them training, hearing about their teammates. I enjoyed it heavily. I think their characters are really interesting and I like the character development, especially with the female main character. I like the slow burn of the relationship too. I felt like their relationship kind of gave like college almost, in where they go weeks without like talking to each other or establishing what they are, and then something would happen and then something else would happen. So I don't know, I just really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 stars. I personally have no notes, but I know, once again, controversial, so curious to see what your guys' thoughts are. And then after that, I read The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. As I said, I enjoyed the first book I read by her, so wanted to pick up another. And this was also adorable. This was 2 writers. She's an aspiring screenwriter and he's like an Oscar-winning one, and so she is brought on to help him write his first romance, and he's of course a cynic who hates romance, and she is a romantic at heart. And so he thinks she's an idiot at first, and she thinks he's an asshole. And it goes from there. I enjoyed this a lot. I thought their banter was really fun. I enjoyed them working on the project together and kind of just like their relationship with each other. I did not enjoy the ending of it, unfortunately. It wasn't even like, I don't know, it was almost that it had a trope that I didn't like. It wasn't exactly the way the trope is. It's just, I just thought the conflict at the end was like a little dumb. Like I didn't love it. I felt like, honestly, it wasn't needed, or they could have gone with something else. But I still think she's such a beautiful writer and I really enjoyed this. So it's still a 4 star. I know it's the same as I gave the other one. It's tough. I hate ranking because it's a really good book, but yeah, I just didn't enjoy the ending. But I don't think it was bad enough to like drop it down to the 3s. So still a 4 star. Then I read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. This is a football romance. I don't know if you can tell, I'm really in a sports romance mood. And they've all been so good, so I'm glad I've been reading them. This is football romance, extreme slow burn, as all of her books are. But yeah, this is very much a slow burn. And she's his assistant, and he's, once again, like an asshole, and she is very nice and like kind of does a lot for him, and he doesn't really realize until it's too late. But then they enter into a marriage of convenience. And again, not a trope I usually like, but it was done so well that I have no complaints. Like, it was so cute. I love with the slow burn how every interaction like is slowly like a building block to them finally getting together. And with this, like, they have so many different ones of those that were just like so cute that I really enjoyed it. And it still had good romance even though they do not get together for a long time. And that is why this is a 4 star and not a 5. Because honestly, it was almost perfect. I enjoyed this so much. Like, it's a long ass book and I was entertained throughout the entire thing, which I always love. I hate when they get together and then it's just an epilogue. I'm like, that's all we get? I don't love a time jump. I feel like it's almost like lazy. I would rather see what they're doing like the next couple of weeks and how their relationship starts than them having like kids or whatever. I don't even remember what the epilogue was. I just remember it was like a 5-year jump forward and I just don't enjoy that. So that is my only beef with it. But other than that, amazing book, 4 stars. Next we have Dreamgirl Drama by Tessa Bailey. Look how cutie this book is. Love her. This was really fun. I unfortunately had really high expectations for this and I feel like it fell a little short, but I don't know if that's my fault. This is the 3rd in the Fangirl Down series, so the Au Pair Affair was after this. Fangirl Down is still my favorite, I think. It is just such a great book. And so I like had high expectations for the other books, and these are her first sports romance books. So this is a hockey romance. Ew. And his future stepsister is the love interest in this, and they were both introduced in the last book, and I thought their relationship was funny and interesting, so I was excited for this book. I don't know. I think it's just tough because it's like the whole time they're like, we can't be together, and you're like waiting for something to change so they can be together, and then that thing finally changes in like the last couple of pages, and it's like, I don't know, I like love the two of their characters so much, but I feel like almost like nothing happened in this book, and I would rather have done like, she starts when they meet. I'm sorry, I'm going too into this maybe. But she shows when they meet, and then it's like a time jump forward to like present day, who we know them as. I would almost rather have the like lead up and then a time jump, you know? Because I just feel like we missed a lot of them, and I would rather have them like first learning each other and who they are. Instead we get like, oh, they've, you know, known each other for 9 months and they can never be together but they're best friends type thing. I don't know. It's hard because I really wanted to really like this, and I just wasn't the most like engaged throughout. So it could just be a me problem. If you read it, comment below your thoughts. But I still really enjoy them. So I think 3.5 or 4 stars. I'm still trying to decide, honestly, but I do love Tessa Bailey. Next we have The Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. I love her so much. I love this series. I love the 2 main characters in this. I love the world. I just love an enemies to lovers, and they just like, the world is against them, like almost a Romeo and Juliet-esque thing. So fun. I thought with a sequel it's hard, because this is a sequel to Heartless Hunter. I don't even know if I've said that. It's hard to like keep the momentum up for the romance, I feel like. And I thought she did a really good job with that, where the romance thread was still the strongest aspect of the book, which I really appreciated. And the plot was still enjoyable. Like, it wasn't like super repetitive, like, oh, they're torn apart and they're brought back together and they're torn apart. She hates him, he hates him, miscommunication, which is, I feel like, something that these books like fall into. Yeah, it wasn't any of that. I enjoyed them so much. I really liked the way that this book went. Once I get into sequels, so I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, I love Gideon and Rune, and they deserve the world. I honestly didn't realize this was just a duology. I was waiting for the cliffhanger and then like, oh, when's the 3rd book coming out? But no, this is a duology, so they like wrapped it up. And I will say that's the only thing I didn't love. And maybe this is just like my inner like fantasy I need, or an 8-book fantasy to like fulfill me. But I'm like, the world is so fun. I wish like we could have like drawn out the conflict and kind of like, I don't know, expanded the world building instead of like kind of ending the conflict in the last 30 pages. But it's still a really good book. And I do think it's more of a romantasy than a straight up fantasy, which makes sense. So that wasn't the main goal, but that's my only complaint, and I think that's just a personal thing, so I'd still give it 5 stars. Next, this was a labor of love. I don't know. I finally finished Throne of Secrets. I started reading this like maybe 2 months ago, so really embarrassing on my part, but also, as you can see, if I wanted to read something, I would. I definitely could have finished it sooner, but I'm a mood reader and I have not been in the mood for it, and I fear I just like did not love it. Just so sad, because I loved Throne of the Fallen, and this almost has like a Cinderella aspect to it, which I thought would be really fun. And it was cool. It's an interesting book. I don't know what it was. Like, I think it took too long to really get into the story, and by that time I'd already kind of like written it off. Like, I'd say like a 50% point was like a turning point for me, and I like finally locked in. But I feel like because I was so uninterested in the first 50% of the book, I'm just like, I don't know, it's not one of my favorites. But yeah, this is one of the Princes of Hell. This is a sequel, and it's a spin-off of the Kingdom of the Wicked series. It's about Prince Gluttony and this reporter, and they've always had like, not a rivalry, it's not like but they just dislike each other. She talks shit about him in the paper, and he does stuff to piss her off. So they've always had this like back and forth type of thing, and he basically starts this competition, almost Bachelor-esque, to distract the kingdom that there's like this problem with the ice dragons. Yeah, like the main plot I just thought wasn't that strong, and then also I wasn't like that into the two of them getting together, because there's also like this other storyline where they don't know who the other person is and they meet in this like sex club that's anonymous. I just thought there was too much going on, honestly, and yeah, just not my favorite of the books. I'd give this like a 3.5 stars. I think I'm hoping the next in the series I enjoy more, because it's a fun series. All of these also, well, The Kingdom of the Wicked and Throne of the Fallen, they could technically be standalones if you just want to read the romance of one of the princes of sins. I'm hoping I like the next story better, because the world is fun. I really do enjoy the world. I enjoy like they always bring in the brothers and the previous love interests in it, and then the characters you've already met. So I think it's fun, but yeah, this was not my favorite, unfortunately. Okay, and then finally we have Spiral by Belle Cabra. This is adorable. Oh, I was not expecting to like this as much as I did, because I read Kaline a while ago and I know I liked it. I like rated it highly, but I honestly can't remember it in the slightest. So this was such a happy surprise. I like picked this up because once again I'm in the mood for a hockey romance, and did not disappoint. I think this is like, I'll tell you what it's about. It's an NHL player, he's a rookie, and she is a ballerina trying to score her like dream role, and she needs to grow her following to do so, and he is like in the media too much and like wants to be left alone basically, so they start fake dating. Her uncle is also his general manager of his team, I think, some rich guy thing. And so he's also, the uncle hates him. So that's an added little conflict of the book. But yeah, this was really cute. It has like found family. It has the characters from the first book. So like that friend group is brought back and it's really fun. They both like are dealing with like family stuff and they help each other with that. And they're both like super driven and ambitious, and she also is like a people pleaser who takes care of everyone, and he takes care of her without her even having to ask. That's like my favorite trope. I love it so much. And she like isn't used to it, and so she like kind of pushes back at first, but yeah, this was just adorable. I loved it so much. Honestly, like 4.5 stars. Like, oh, this was really fun. That is everything I read in January and February. Some good reading months. I am excited for what I'm gonna read next. Let's look behind us, make some guesses as to what I'll decide to pick up. It really, I am a mood reader, so it really just depends on what I'm feeling at the moment, and that's why I sometimes end up reading multiple books at once. But what can you do? But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys soon.